because it's the silly, stupid, fascinating, weird, wonderful. They're my people, and more often than not, they're the geeky people as well.
I mentioned Betamax. For anybody older, that's the old version of a video cassette. Video cassette is an old version of a DVD. A DVD is not set in the cloud.
Welcome to Faith and Geekery. I am one of your co-hosts, Becca, and this is
Mark.
Hello, Mark. Welcome. As always, we're going to start with asking you to rake your brains or even tap into what you're doing right now as you listen to us. What have you been up to that has been geeky this week? Mark Dennett, what have you been up to?
I've been quite busy actually this week, and over the weekend I went on a district youth weekend. I know I'm not, well, in fact I'm far too old for these sort of things, but I was there as a grown-up. In fact, I was there to chaplain and look after the teenagers, and so I've been overseeing things, mainly tree climbing. And kind of supporting teenagers as they've been encouraged to climb up trees with ropes and harnesses and things.
Are you allowed to share your favourite quote from the weekend? Because that was my favourite.
I think I can. So it was interesting. I had various options to kind of go and visit and kind of go around with various groups. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to stay with one activity. So I missed out on the axe throwing, I missed out on the various kind of bits and pieces, but it was the tree climbing that I went with, because I realised that when the teenagers got to be about 10, 12 foot off the ground, they were talking about Jesus and God a lot more. And I think it was maybe in swearing, but I was just treating it as a prayer. So I was like, Amen, well done. But one of the funniest moments was one of the teenagers down below, because I was really trying to get them to encourage the one that's climbing, and one of them was just kind of went, grab the wood handles, and I was like, wood handles? Do you mean branches? And they were like, yeah, that's what they are.
The wood handles conveniently provided by the tree itself.
Absolutely, and from that point on, they were wood handles. So what have you been up to, Becca?
Similarly Christianly geeky this weekend at a women's conference, where a whole load of women gathered together to share stories and to just kind of build each other up in community. And it's one of those odd things where it really is geeky at its most broad, but it's I see it as me being geeky by being super curious and really excited by things and really digging into what can I find out about these people, and just really being present in the moment. And that's been, it's not geeky probably in the traditional sense of computer games or tabletop games, but there's something about how I do it that makes me feel geeky when I do it.
Yeah, that's really good. And it's okay not to be conventionally geeky. I think we hopefully try and kind of
unconventionally geeky. Yeah.
We have a number of comments already, by the way.
We do.
Lydia says hello.
Oh, sorry, hello.
Stephen Jones says hello.
I read that hello in a mooing sound, Lydia. I don't know even if that's how you meant it, but hello. Mark is quiet. Is Mark too quiet for people?
I've turned myself up and I've adjusted volumes for us.
Okay,
so
there you
hopefully
go.
that is better.
So what's Lydia? Lydia's immersed herself in Stardew Valley. And our lovely friend Stephen has done some international IT support this morning, fixing a friend's laptop in South Africa via Aero Admin. Well, that sounds delicious. And M&S Teams.
It's not just any Teams. This is
Belly
M&S
of
Teams.
chocolate.
I think that might just
Technology
be
is
MS
indeed
Teams.
M&S. It's Aero and M&S. Do you know what I mean?
It's MS,
M&S.
Microsoft. Not
Right.
M&S, that's Marks and
What this
Spencer.
M&Ms. There we go. Gosh, it's all going to go downhill from here.
We've been live for
And
6.5 minutes and Becca has already broken.
good evening to our lovely friend David as well. So wherever you are listening, whatever you're listening on or watching, you are very welcome. If you are watching back on our podcast or on when it's up, when it's not live, what's the opposite of live? When it's dead in the air.
Oh, good. Boding well this evening. Boding well.
Posting Lydia's comment. Naughty. Naughty cheekiness in there. Not really. We love you. Mark, I believe you have some news for us. We do have a guest who Mark will introduce after the news, but first.
Yes, it is over to Geeky News. And this week it is return to form for our video Geeky News. And you might recognise the person and the background. So here is Geeky News.
Welcome to Geeky News, and we start with Warhammer 40k news, and that they've kind of retconned part of the custodes being female, or the Adeptus custodes being female, and I think some of this might be sexism, but it might also be kind of how do you carefully retcon faithful fandoms and backstories accordingly without upsetting the fans. Also, there are some new figures this summer coming out with a new edition of Age of Sigma, which look funky. Thank you, Mendip, for sharing those things on our Discord. Next, in movie news, the new Deadpool and Wolverine trailer has dropped and it is looking fantastic, especially with the Madonna soundtrack. It's looking awesome. It will be interesting to see how Marvel, truly at the helm of its first R-rated movie, how it will fare and how it will go. And dare I say, how much mopping up of the sacred timeline Deadpool can get away with doing and clearing up some of the latest phase of the Marvel movies. Also in movie news, Sonic 3 is under production and underway, and people are toying with various logos and what is it going to be called? Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, etc, etc. Let's chat in the Discord. In Disney news, Disney Resort Paris is going to change its name to Disney Adventure World, but let's be honest, will we still just call it Disneyland Paris? Next, in gaming news, the Stardew update has landed, which is sounding fab, as well as in streaming news, Fallout has well and truly landed if you've got Prime, and it's gory, it's bleak, but it's fab, and yeah, Bethesda's franchise is looking amazing on the small screen, and Series 2 has already been given the go-ahead. Speaking of post-apocalyptic wastelands and bunkers, The Silo on Apple TV has also been given a green light for a second series, so the future looks bright and slightly nuclear. Oh well, finally, Eurovision 2024 is next month, starting on the Tuesday the 8th, when Faith and Geekery is around, running up to Saturday the 11th. So I wonder who will win. Will it be the UK? I doubt it. That's all for Geeky News. Thank you.
When was the last time we did win Eurovision?
Pass. No idea. No, genuinely no idea.
It's not one of our quiz questions today.
Jolly good. Oh yeah, we've got a quiz coming up soon. Anything to comment about Geeky News? I think I've got a couple of things wrong in that as well. That we're actually broadcasting on the 7th of May rather than the 8th of May, because an 8th is a Wednesday. But Eurovision is all
and
that
that's
week.
Eurovision.
Yeah, so that's all that week. So that will be interesting, and also very fascinating. Have you watched Fallout? No spoilers. Have you seen Fallout on
No.
Prime? Have you come across Fallout the game even?
No.
No, fair enough. Really glad we had this conversation.
Another really interesting segment. No,
By
I have
jolly.
not.
Okie dokie. No, I think it's really fascinating how they've kind of transferred it over from a game into a TV series and how many nods to the game that there is. Interestingly, the game Fallout 4 has gone up. The sales of Fallout 4 since this series has dropped has gone up 7,500% because of the 7,500%. That sounds better, doesn't it? In sales because of the game, the TV show has hit Prime. The game the sales has gone up 7,500%.
Wow.
Which either says something about how cool it is now or how badly it was selling beforehand. So
Yes.
I just don't know for sure.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, isn't it? And there is something about playing a game that has the depth of characters that a TV series can actually develop that you don't necessarily get in a game. But then to have that control and play it, but with it's like when you reread a book that you've then seen in a movie, and sometimes that has huge limitations, but other times that just adds a richness to the reading.
And I find it quite interesting that kind of Fallout, it hasn't gone down like recreating a prequel or anything like that. It's actually just kind of throwing it out there into that world without undermining any of the games that have gone beforehand, but tweaking bits, yes, but like changing little bits here and there, but actually going with new characters. But because of the style of it, because of the topic of it, it's all kind of the same corporations and things like this as per the game. But it's just nice that they've got a bit of a fresh twist on it, and I find that interesting at the same time as when Mandip was talking about the Warhammer 40k, where they've decided to retcon stuff to change so that the custodians or whatever they're called. No, the custodes. Some of them are female, and it's interesting of how actually changing that kind of detail, which I would say is legitimate. That's absolutely fine to kind of be more inclusive, to have male and female kind of characters. It's just interesting of how that hasn't worked very well because it's annoyed some people, and so it's just fascinating
because of the fan base that is. Do we talk about playing with the minifigures? Is that using them in order to do tabletop gaming? That's what I'm asking. Is that, am I allowed
Our poll
to say
for tonight
that?
has Becca offended the Warhammer community.
Are we playing with Warhammer? Is that not what we're doing?
You do. I think so.
You're playing with your little toys. I mean that with deep affection, and that's the wonder of it.
Yes. Shall we move on before we dig any deeper?
Please don't be offended.
We are going to introduce our guest tonight, and James. I was about to kind of give a big bio about James, but I don't know him that well. So, but James was meant to be on the show last month due to illness. He couldn't be around, so I'm going to just bring up James now. And hello, James. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
I'm fine, and I'm fine. And the UK last won Eurovision in 1997 with Katrina and the Waves.
Did they really?
Yep.
There we go.
Blimey, is that
what year was that? Sorry,
97.
Wowza.
There you go. So, in answer to Stephen Jones's question, have we won Eurovision since Lulo did it with Boom Bang a Bang in 1976? He thinks. Yes, we have.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so, James, a little bit later on, we'll be listening in a little bit about kind of your interest and chatting about your interests and things like that. And but before then, I do believe. Oh, in fact, I should be asking you: have you been up to anything geeky in the last week, or?
Yes. So last week, I got rid of all of my games consoles and replaced it with one.
Oh my! That's drastic.
One.
I know. I got And I got the Steam Deck.
Oh, Steam Deck.
Yeah.
How are
Yeah,
you finding that?
It's really good. It's really good. So I got the OLED version, and it's much lighter than the previous edition. And I've recently been playing Stray on it, where you get to be a little cat going through sewers and fighting rat things. I'm not sure what they're called.
Oh, that sounds really
Write a
good.
list of things to go on YouTube with after Faith and Geekery every week. Stray on the Steam Deck.
Yep.
So Steam Deck is a derivative of Steam, so that you could download the Steam library and play it on there as well.
Yeah.
Is there a lot of crossover with like your PC and, well, mainly PC kind of library of stuff, or are there limitations? Are there any certain games that play?
No, there's quite a few of the older PS exclusives, and they got quite a few of the Xbox games on there now, so it's pretty much the same sort of things, really.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
I've got so with your existing library of Steam, are you able to then play that on the Steam console?
Yeah.
Interesting. Might actually play Hogwarts. Okay, good. Would you like a quiz, gentlemen?
Oh,
Do we have to?
wouldn't we?
Yes. I mean, we do not. Oh, look, you've got a yay from Lydia there. Yes, you do have to. We have had weeks where nobody scores anything because the questions are so very obscure. Okay. And also it's trying to keep, our perception of what is geeky nice and broad. Okay, question number. Well, wait. Let's be professional about this. Can we have our ditty? That was nice, wasn't it? Slick and smooth. Okay. Question number 1. What was the first ever video game?
Oh, and it's wrong. It's deleted everything.
What's that? Deleting? Are you Googling it?
No, I'm on my
Yes,
notes.
James. No Googling. What was the first ever video game? Question number 2. How many chemical elements are there?
There's hydrogen and helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon everywhere, nitrogen, oxygen, oxygen. So
We finally got our singing episode.
I've got no idea how many there are, though.
I don't know either. I'm going to take a punt. No.
However,
Take a little guess.
Yeah.
However many God decided there to be.
That is not an answer I will accept. Question number 3. The term genetic engineering was invented by science fiction author in what year? Genetic engineering was invented as a term by science fiction author. In what year do you think that term was invented?
To the year? Will you allow, a decade or?
I'll accept a decade.
Okay.
I mean,
I
not that I
was
have
gonna-
a clue.
No.
Are you any
Will you
closer
accept-
with
will
me?
you accept a
Me being
millennia?
generous as a quiz master?
Do you accept
Okay.
a millennium?
No. How many years is Da Vinci said to have spent painting Mona Lisa's lips? How many years is he said to have spent painting them?
Wow. I thought you were going to say something about the Last Supper. And I was like, okay.
No. Mona Lisa's lips.
Oh. Wow. Okay.
Lydia
Taking a
is
random
giving
guess.
hints in the thing. She is wildly wrong.
Quick, what's that? Wildly wrong, you say?
Lydia's suggesting 1 year for each lip. No.
Well, I'll change
And
that then.
question number 5. What sport is the only sport to have been played on the moon?
Oh, I think I know this one.
Swimming, yeah.
Yes, that's right.
No.
I don't know if this
The
counts as a
Olympic
sport. I've
sport
just put it
of
down.
synchronized swimming.
For the podcast, I'm pretending to float in
You're
sea.
not doing the smile. You need to do the fixed smile for it.
Oh,
Okay,
good.
are you ready for some answers? Lydia is in a feisty mood this evening. Right, those watching at home, are you ready for some answers? Well, we're all watching from at home, so that makes no sense. That gave the impression briefly that we were in a studio, when in fact we are in our own homes. Okay, are you ready? The first ever video game was Tennis for Two in
Oh,
We accept
1998.
we accept Pong, which is a later edition of that game.
No. It was
Oh,
Tennis for Two,
I did
not
Pong as
Pong
well.
as it is commonly misconceived to be.
You see,
It's
this is
either
why we
right
get so
or you're wrong.
few questions.
Right. Question number 2. There are 118 chemical elements.
I've been having a 93.
I said 137.
Okay, so technically, by just being slightly less than James, Mark doesn't win that because he's wrong. Question number 3. Generic engineering was invented by science fiction author in 1958.
Oh, so close by the 1960s.
I went.
Yes.
I tried to second guess. I went 1897. I was thinking it was like Jules Verne or somebody.
No, there
I
was
was-
something that was in the 1880s.
By the way,
I was
am
going
just
after
looking
Stephen
at
wants
the,
to know. I know, I am mean. Do I get half a point for playing Pong when it came out? Yes, he is that old. Stephen? No, you do not.
because it's not the right answer.
What does Sam Wallace say? Sam Wallace got 118, but the periodic table is on the wall behind him. But that's quite impressive still.
What, for having the periodic table behind them, or
One, yes, periodic
okay.
table and not fan art or concept art for the TARDIS. I don't think bananas are on the periodic table.
potassium?
Sorry, Sam. I did think you were her when I said him, and then was going to apologize for that, and then forgot to because I got distracted by the banana, as is often the way.
So, where did the banana fit in? Who mentioned the banana?
Sam got 1959,
Sorry,
and
didn't see
then
the
said
whole
close
no
but no
banana.
banana, and that was what had distracted me.
Ah,
Those
fair enough.
listening on podcasts, you're so welcome, and I am so sorry. Right, question number 4. Da Vinci is said to have spent 12 years
Oh,
painting Mona Lisa's lips. Do you
I got
know?
15.
I initially wrote 13, then scribbled it out, and then changed it to 5.
Oh, well, neither of you were right. Number 5. The
Brutal.
only sport to ever have been played on the moon is golf. Did you
I
get
went-
it, Mark?
Yes, I did.
I went.
Got 1 point.
I went for the funny answer. I went for leapfrog.
Would be quite a good game, but I don't think leapfrog is counted as a sport, James. Is it? No. When does a sport become a sport? David Greet also got a 1
You're in good company there, David.
and many exclamation marks. Well done. Cheese ball also, I don't believe it is a sport, Lydia. There is plenty of cheese on the moon.
Oh, and
make
plenty of
it all out
people
of.
also getting 1 point there, Becca.
Do you what? Right. This is a serious question. Do you want an easy quiz where you know all the answers, or do you want me to take you deeper into your knowledge of the world and the universe in which we live, and therefore challenge you with the questions that I ask? Answers on a postcard or in the Discord channel. But you can congratulate yourselves for getting a 1. David says yes. So there
See
you
that?
go, David.
To that
Clearly
multiple
agreeing
choice question, a yes.
with the multiple choice question. Mark, bring James into conversation with us.
Well, shall we move on from that that glorious quiz?
Glorious quiz.
Yes, it was a glorious quiz.
Could
Sorry,
I
James,
get
were
one
you
point, Becca, if I share a story about my Warhammer collection when I was younger?
You don't get a point for it, James. We still hold you at how many points did you get? Was it
0.
0 then? Okay. But you do get a warm welcome and embrace for being one of us. So share with us about your Warhammer collection.
So when I was younger, my siblings and I used to have Warhammer sets, and we used to fight against each other. We didn't play against each other, Becca. And and
were you actually killing each other, James?
No comment.
Oh.
I've
been watching too much Dexter.
On my trial later on, I do not wish to comment on that one. But my brother had Space Marines and I had Orcs. And because I like to be a bit unconventional with my stuff, I painted them all in pink.
Strong colour choice.
Fantastic. Yeah. Well, thank you for clearing up the playing or the fighting in regards to Warhammer. And tonight, whilst you didn't mention about talking about Warhammer, I think your interest that you'd shared about does have some sort of link about courts and being guilty of war crimes, perhaps. Yes, Brandon's just put, call it the Pink Death Brigade. That sounds rather fitting. James, would you like to share a little bit about your interest, your passion about criminology?
So I've been involved in criminology for how long? 2018, so about 5 years now. And very often when you talk about criminology, and people basically say, "Oh, you do CSI then?" And it's like, no, we don't. So the difference is, the CSI investigates how a crime took place. Criminology looks at how crime, looks at why a crime was committed and how it could have been prevented, and my area of specialty is the area of religion and crime, which is basically looking at how crime can start and or stop. No, it's not. How religion can be around. How
it can start or stop religion.
But the history of criminology is fascinating, and once you know a bit about it, I think something which is quite forgotten today, is that the area of criminology came out of religion itself, in the form of demonology. So,
wow.
So I think it was. I'm going to get the dates wrong. It was before the Norman Conquest, or was it Saxon Conquest? It was some conquest. There was a lot of them at the time.
Did it involve Pink Death Brigade? No. Carry on, James. I was being naughty.
What's that there, Bob? It looks like a ton of orcs. Ah! No, but they were basically in those days, before there was a proper legal system in place in the UK, a lot of the trials of innocent versus guilty were decided by God inside the church. And some of the old stories sort of show how much, I want to say, fear there was of God in those days. So if you were so the easiest way of proving your innocence, which didn't really hurt a lot, was to swear an oath, which basically said, "I did not do this. I promise I did not do this." And in those days, that would have basically proved your innocence, and Mr. Populus was quite afraid of breaking their oaths and breaking promises. Yeah. But then we get to the more interesting ones, and so there was these things called trial by ordeals and trials by battles.
Yeah.
And basically you had to go through something to prove your innocence, and I think there were 5 of them. I think you've got trial by boiling water, where you basically brought into the church some water would be boiled, and a stone would be plopped inside the water, and the person would have to take the hand, dip it into the boiling water, and retrieve the pebble.
This is why we serve teas after every service.
Yes, it saves on the bloodshed, really.
Boiling water torture.
Yeah.
So I guess these things are there then to kind of prove your mantle or prove your character, but also then to kind of, under distress, like as general torture would be, to kind of put you in a painful position to hopefully provoke you to be honest and for your ordeal to stop. So I guess these would be there to kind of show your worth, your mantle, your stamina, and your integrity, sort of thing.
I think the thinking was that if you were innocent, you would be more willing to go through these things to basically show that you are innocent.
Yeah.
But
Brandon says to test your resolve.
I mean, I mean, the easiest one is probably Korsned, or
say that again.
Korsned.
Okay, sorry, I thought you said custard, and I did wonder where that was going.
Trial by custard. I mean,
good with a cup of tea after church.
I mean, you're not far off, actually. You're not far off. So basically, in New English, Korsned translates to taken into custody. It translates into trial by sacred morsel or something like that. What it basically consisted of was you'd have to try and swallow their equivalent of cake without choking.
When you say their equivalent of cake, was it like nice cake or was it like death cake?
It was basically mouldy bread with worms and.
Oh. For those people having their tea at this time, we apologise.
So sorry if you're listening and eating.
Wow, that's disgusting. But again, it is, isn't it? It's to test that kind of stuff. And wow, I mean, it's interesting that, and so that kind of then developed into kind of, I guess, through like the proving their oaths, saying an oath in court. Is that how that kind of then transitioned into kind of standing up in front of authority, whether that's religious and then kind of the land sort of thing, and is that how it then kind of transferred into?
So the introduction of the course, the trial by juries, I think it was the papacy in Rome, which basically said that God shouldn't be made to decide on whether someone was innocent or guilty, in terms of a crime, and they shouldn't be put through these ordeals anymore. And instead, and the best wording that I've heard as explanation was from Tony Robinson in a documentary a few years ago, where he basically said that God was busy and couldn't do all this stuff. And so basically, it was decided that trials. I can't remember if they were taken outside of the church entirely or they still took place in a church, but instead it was more a decision of your peers rather than going through all of these ordeals. But despite this, a few of the ordeals did still carry on, such as ordeal by dunking, which took place during the witch trials.
Wow, is it? And so that then kind of, gosh, I mean, that's really fascinating to see how that has kind of developed and changed over the years. And so therefore, kind of as you explore more modern or more of a modern interpretation of criminology, kind of exploring the whys and the hows in a more of a social kind of study sort of way. Is that the sort of thing you mean, like that kind of taking a step back and kind of pondering about, so rather than kind of prove somebody did it or how, like in court, to actually step back and kind of reflect on what sort of people lead doing those sort of, is that the sort of thing, or
so modern criminology, there's basically like three schools of thought as to why people commit crimes, and they are to do with biological causes, which has mostly been debunked now, psychological causes and sociological causes. But when and quite a lot of the evidence points towards there being some sort of social factor which has caused people to commit crime, and most often it sort of feeds back into the government, as it always does. So there's evidence that if you decrease the number of social faculties, such as swearing your libraries and things, and youth clubs, the rates of youth crime goes up, because it's basically a case of, those services were keeping the young people busy and giving them a sense of purpose, but but without them, there is nothing. There's nothing, and there's prime opportunity for gangs and criminal and individuals with bad intentions and to take advantage of the situation and get people into crime.
Yeah. So that kind of working through the causality of what are the factors that kind of can influence those things. And so then I hope the intention then is to kind of learn from those then and try to what's the word? I was about to say like rally society to sort of say, hey, yeah. Or otherwise it'd be quite divisive.
Yeah.
No, that's good. That's good. Cool. And so thank you for explaining that and sharing about that. Is there other ways in which this then speaks to you to help you kind of reflect on self or reflect on kind of going deeper? Or is this just something that, where does it affect? What does it mean for you here maybe in this place?
So very often a good analogy. So very often a good analogy that I like to use, is two people having an argument. And person A has all this information about life, the world, and that sort of stuff. And person B has all different sorts of information about life, the world, and stuff. And because I spent all these years studying society and sociology and things like that, it sort of stopped me from going, "Oh, you're wrong." You're wrong, or you're homophobic, or you're racist, something like that. Instead of going, okay, why do you think this? Because most of all, there is some sort of reason as to why we think stuff. My background has sort of enabled me to ask these questions instead of essentially shutting down debates and going, okay, why do you think this? And basically having a proper conversation. Which I think in a world which is so divisive is quite an important thing to have and to remember. And
does that help you? I guess it gives you tools to be able to pick those kind of arguments apart, sort of thing, doesn't it? And rather than just to run in with the minutiae detail, to be able to take a step back and kind of go, these are the factors, these are the other things that are greater at work, then they can kind of impact. So I guess these are transferable skills as well then. So not just to criminology, not just to like work out who or what or why of the illegal stuff going on. I say that very broadly, sorry. But do you know what I mean? It also kind of transfers over to like helping you to understand psyche and the sociology of society generally speaking as well, can't it?
Yeah, I mean, it has a massive impact. I'm not perfect at it all the time, but it basically something that I'm aware of. As and when, sort of, because I think one of the big things that we need to remember is that humans aren't perfect and we do make mistakes. And even if you have all these skills and able to answer all these questions, sometimes your emotions can get better of you, and when you fall into the old trap. But it's sort of a case of okay, what do you do next to sort of fix the rift which you caused because of those questions, or because of those assumptions and things like that.
I'm also just pondering that it kind of, and I don't want to put words into your mouth, but just as you're sharing about it, it reminds me of the kind of like the ability to take a step back and look beyond our failures, and to kind of see the causes around us and the consequences, as well as the ability to then kind of be gracious with people, to sort of say, actually, you know what, whilst they have done a bad thing or they are kind of going down a certain path, to be able to say, actually, but you know what, there's something bigger at work here, as to say, kind of society's having an impact or otherwise. So I guess it can be quite profound, really, to help lead us into our reflections of humanity, I guess, rather than it just being an individual. And again, just that, I think I'm just kind of struck by the perspective of this and the ability to stand back and observe.
I think I think also in my case, and Becca, be ready for a smooth transition. I'm a good. Well, a part of me questioning society and questioning myself and my actions, and as part of my neurodiverse condition, social ADHD and stuff, where basically it's sort of like and because of things like rejection sensitivities, cue the smooth transition. because of things like rejection sensitivities, you never really feel like you fit in somewhere. And it's sort of like you end up analyzing and sometimes over-analyzing yourself and sort of going, okay, well, I did this wrong here and I did that wrong there, and it's basically trying to fit it all together and trying to improve yourself.
Yeah. So I hope you don't mind me asking. You can ignore it if you want to. It sounds to me whether has criminology then given you the tools to better deal with how you fit in or perceive society, or has there always been that interest in society and how you fit in that has naturally fed into your interest in criminology? Does that make sense?
So it's my interest in criminology. After secondary school, and we went into it. When I went into college, I was and another time I wasn't really sure where I wanted to go into, and because I liked history, I liked writing, and I liked other bits, but sociology wasn't something that I really liked. But and I guess my transition into public services and then into criminology, and I think the best way of describing it would be an impulse decision, and which I then found that I really loved, and I basically explored it a bit more. But because but also because of my Methodist background, my Methodist background, I started questioning bits about my faith and bits about and the teachings of the Methodist Church, and which then got me into my specialty, and which is basically I'm looking at how Methodist beliefs influence our perceptions of the world, and 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 our views on crime, and
Oh, fantastic.
And there's always been, certainly since kind of, we'll read Stephen Jones's. These sound like valuable skills to acquire in terms of understanding one's faith as well. I like the idea of asking the question, why do you believe XXX? There's probably one too many X's there for it to be polite, with a view to opening up a conversation rather than dogmatism that one often encounters, particularly on many social media platforms.
Twitter.
That is your.
There is that element of the injustice around the crime system and who ends up in the cycle of the system, and the correlation between social background, education, access to early life care or stability, and that then tying with the hope that maybe within intentional community we can overcome conflict better, although by experience that's probably not true, because the church is made up of human beings. That maybe that is part of addressing the injustices of what's happening for people that are in cycles of crime and punishment.
Unfortunately, due to the way the crime has been politicized, and because of the way human beings are down in their biology, and when it comes to the reintegration of offenders, it can be quite difficult, and because we're often taught that we need to protect ourselves from these people, and that we need and that we need and that we need to take revenge. Instead, what we should be doing is putting out a hand where appropriate, and basically saying, look, I forgive you. How can I help you? How can I help you through and what caused this to happen, and things like that.
I hope you don't mind me mentioning this, but it reminds me of Reginald D. Hunter, and I can't remember whether it was on QI or Have I Got News for You. I am going in a certain direction, where he basically.
I know you are. I know where this is going.
He shattered my world in regards to DC Comics and Batman, and so. Apologies now, folks. Spoiler now. If you want to protect your image of Batman, kind of tune away now or cover your ears. Basically, he talks about actually how he absolutely hates Batman, because Batman, or again, a proper spoiler if you don't know, Bruce Wayne, has all this money.
How dare you tell me that? I haven't got to that bit yet.
He's got all this money, and yet rather than trying to change society for the better and kind of put money into Gotham City and change the kind of the way of which kind of society works, rather than doing that and using his power and influence to kind of change the city with his wealth, he decides to put his wealth into kind of being a vigilante and going and so not going for the people who are kind of powering and peddling this infrastructure. He's actually going for the people who are trying to make a living and like the people who are mugging one another. I just find it fascinating, and it's just like, oh my gosh, Batman does do that. I can't believe he's such a meanie.
And it's sort of puts a different perspective onto the character of the Joker in the Dark Knight series, and where and where he steals all this money off the rich and famous in Gotham City, and he just burns it all. And so in a sense, the Joker is the good guy.
Weird, isn't it? Because I mean, that's the same for a terrorist versus a war hero, and how people are portrayed. But similarly, a lot of the Batman storyline, the mental ill health and its impact and kind of generational impact, both then on the ability to access things within society that might otherwise increase household income, avoid other. It's kind of protective factors versus risk factors. James, it has been an absolute delight to have you with us. Please come again, because I'm sure there's a whole other bunch of things that we could talk about, and also what the implication for that means in terms of organized religion or spiritual practice.
Oh, I've got a lot of that.
Does doctrine make a difference, or is it spiritual practice that makes a difference? I know there's various studies into, particularly around mental health. What makes the difference? Is it the things that people believe, or is it the things that people do? We're going to start having a conversation, because this is intentional community for anyone that identifies themselves as geeky and has a leaning towards practices and thinkings around faith. And what we want to do over the next few weeks, and we'll dedicate a what is this, an episode to it, and looking at what our directives or rules might be. So there's times where I'm sure you'll be able to tell us more about it. Another time, James, where the laws are in favour of certain people and villainize other people. But similarly, there are times when having kind of helpful guidelines. I know when I was talking to Mark about it, I said, in Star Trek, you've got the prime directive, and it is this. What would our primary guide be for what it means to be part of the Faith and Geekery community? What are other things that we say are important for us to behave in a way of? So we're going to be talking about that. We'll kickstart the conversation in Discord. But if you are not part of the Discord community, do reach out, contribute to the conversations as they come up on Facebook or YouTube. But again, James, it has been an absolutely delightful thing to have you come and hang out with us for a bit. And we're now going to go towards Geeky Gallery, are we, Mark?
Oh.
Why is Mark muted? Mark is muted.
Sorry, I was joined by a little one. That's why I forgot that I muted myself. I was joined by a little one who couldn't sleep properly. So they're just off screen now, and so I was trying to juggle. So I hope I said things within context and the right way around. So apologies. And again, just to echo Becca, thank you, James, for all that you've shared. Yes, indeed, we are coming to Geeky Gallery. And so is that best to see it like that? We've had a few bits in, and I think I've tried to allocate a slide per person, really, because we've had quite a wealth of things. So the first thing is from Mendip, various kind of Warhammer 40k things, including...
That looks like, what's it, with the bugs? Starship Troopers.
I mean, it does say it on the box, doesn't it, Becca?
Oh, is it Nightmare thing?
Does it on the box?
Oh, team. It looks like Starship Troopers, though, which is my favourite guilty pleasure.
Yes, no, it is very good. So we've got some like the kind of new figures, expansion stuff, and new. There's like weird kind of. I was trying to work out whether they were also kind of bug-like creatures. The kind of group of 5 there on their own. That's
like in Starship Troopers.
Basically. Folks,
Isn't
yeah,
there?
on podcast, there's lots of kind of expansion kit, an expansion kit, and then lots of figurines that Mendip has been
Yeah, it's
posting.
Warhammer, Kill Team, Nightmare, and my face is blocking in case that says anything more than Nightmare.
Yeah.
Isn't
Does it just say Nightmare?
isn't there a Space Corps directive about bugs?
Oh yeah, there is something, isn't there?
A
I
re-
can't remember off the top of my head. Shall we
A reference
move
for
on
those
then?
who watch Red Dwarf.
Oh, I do watch Red Dwarf. I'm trying to think of what that one is.
I swear there's one about bugs. Right.
Space Weevil, maybe. Oh, so that's that one. Next is Specky Geek. Good evening, David. And yeah, just been sharing some of his ones. And I won't share it on here, but there's a lovely kind of conversation between him and Mendip about Warhammer 40k as well, and sharing advice and bits and pieces. So he's kind of got his set there. Also talking about Magic the Gathering with friends, and as well as feeding back about his session. Oh, it says their play session, Becca. So it doesn't say fight session.
It's not a derogatory term.
Yeah, but yeah, the dice were against him. I feel your pain, David. I'm renowned for my dice being rubbish. Yeah, I'm afraid though, if you get dodgy dice, then it doesn't help you either, really. Something from Emmy, who was with us a few weeks back about anime, and just kind of sharing about Kiki Pie. So that's kind of the cartoon anime references. As if I've maybe said the wrong thing now as well. Anime references, and then the real thing being
People
cooked.
offended by our episode today.
Yes. Sorry, folks. So that looks fantastic, doesn't it? Really kind of close
Really
to
does.
the original. And finally, just from Lydia about, I think it's about a mileage, which I think there's a fascination, isn't there, about having your digits all the same on your mileage.
Yeah.
But then also a reference to last week's thing about having all your ducks in a row. So that's a nice
That is
little
quite cool
double-
though,
a
because they
double
look
whammy.
like ducks and
Yeah,
they're in a
yeah.
row. So it says
So-
2222222.2 mils.
And it says, my
It's
ducks are in a
definitely
row for
quacking.
once. Yeah. And that, folks, is all for Geeks Gallery. And yeah, again, thank you, James, for being a lovely guest and sharing with us. And yeah, as Becca said, I'm sure you'll be invited to come back again and share further on criminology, neurodiversity. We didn't really kind of get talking about gaming and bits and pieces like that, which I'm sure you can chat about. But also, there's a reminder for folks regarding our prime directives, but also sharing pictures or sharing in the conversation on Discord and things like that. So please don't be a stranger. Find us on Discord to be part of that wider group. Is there anything last to say, Becca?
Just got distracted looking for the Discord link. I don't think so. I think something that James said about finding belonging, that the pursuit of your passion and interest was also about finding belonging in a world that you didn't fit.
Yeah.
And I think we come back to it all the time, but belonging is just so incredibly central to what we're doing here, that it's almost only the people that really don't want to fit in with the geeky, nerdy Methodist, faithy, geeky Christian people, they don't need to. But anybody that does want to can absolutely belong. I think if that is our prime directive, then let it be. Make it so.
Nice. On that note, we're going to say, and yeah, thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you for joining us on the podcast. And yes, I guess it's just left for us to say, have a good evening, geek safe, and farewell. Bye bye.